Hi guys, Brian here. I want to do a post-hike gear review from my recent Swedish Lapland hike. So I used every single bit of gear that was on my packing list except for the gloves, and I didn't, fortunately I didn't have to use my first aid kit or the repair kit. I had one piece of gear that dumped a test that I wanted to do, and I had one gear failure. Alright, let's get stuck into this. I don't want this to be too long, so I'm going to refer to the article that I've written on my blog, and if you want some more details of what I'm about to say, then you can look at the description at the bottom of this video. When I first started putting together this packing list for this hike, I was contemplating on taking my Hyperlight mountain gear Ultimate 2. I took it on a test hike the month before, and after that I decided that I would take my tuck tent notch. Last year I took my Z-Packs duplex, and it was a great tent. I've got no complaints about it at all. I just wanted to take something different this year. So after the test hike I did in August, I decided on the notch, like I say, and the notch is a good old favourite of mine, and I always seem to sleep well in it. The notch performed well, and it performed as I expected it to do. However, on the 6th day, when I woke for the second time, because I was also up earlier that morning, it was quite wind still at 5 AM in the morning, but when I woke the second time around about 8 AM, the winds had shifted around to the east, and they were blowing quite with such force that the door cord had loosened. It didn't come off the stake or the peg, but had just loosened enough so that the wind picked up the side of, well, not picked up, but it just filled the side of the canopy like a sail. And when I woke up, I could feel like the side of the canopy coming in and hitting me. It was no big deal, and nothing happened, and I could just fasten it again while I was lying in bed. So to be fair, the notch had been pitched since 4:30 PM the day before, so that's nearly 18 hours that it had copped a beating all through the night with the winds that got up. They were gusts, so the wind wasn't there all the time, it was coming and going. So it didn't let me down. It's a great shelter, and I really liked the comfort that the partial solid inner gave me. You feel nice in the notch. I call it a coffin sometimes. There's a Danish word called hyggelig. It means cozy, and you feel hyggelig in the notch. I wouldn't hesitate in packing this shelter again for another trek up above the Arctic Circle. Let's talk about my backpack. I'm attacking the big three first here, yeah? So my backpack is the Hyperlight Mountain Gear Windrider 3400. It's around about a 55 litre pack. and it weighs roughly 900 grams. I've also got 2 treadlight gear shoulder strap pockets on it, and they weigh 17 grams each. So the total of my pack arrangement was 942 grams. There's not much to say here. It's a great pack, and it's really comfy to carry, especially with the light loads that I carry. My load was just over 11 kilos without water, but that was including fuel and food. My pack looks pretty dirty, and it's showing some usage, but there's no drastic signs of wear and tear on it. I get a lot of questions about the netting or the mesh pockets that's on it. There's 2 side pockets and the big front pocket, all made of mesh. People are concerned that these pockets can be easily damaged, being caught on brush and so forth. The 2 side pockets and the large net pocket don't have any damage at all. I have used this pack for nearly 5 years, below and above tree line, and it's a great pack. I love it. So to continue talking about the big 3, my sleeping system, I've already shown everyone on my packing list video the AS Turgis, the folded down quilt. Not much to say here either. I had the same quilt with me last year. I actually had it custom made specifically for Kunstleden last year, so it was a no-brainer that this came as well. The temperatures range from 0 to 20 degrees, and on my first night the temperatures plummeted to around about 0. They could have gone under, I don't know, but there was fresh snow on the mountains around me when I got up early the next morning. I know, like when I arrived at the hut, I was very cold and wet and hungry. I know from several years' experience that all I needed was some warm food, some dry clothes, and a good sleep system to get my own internal body heater to keep me warm. I had to fasten all 3 clips on the back of my quilt and tighten the collar drawstring on the first night to help retain my body heat. My quilt kept me nice and toasty. It's important to say here that your quilt or your sleeping bag, whatever you have, does not warm you up. It is your body and its internal combustion heater that heats the quilt or your sleeping bag. The quilt or the sleeping bag's job is to retain that heat, and that is how you stay warm. So before you go to bed, you should always eat, and if you can hop up and down on the spot or something like that, a little bit of exercise to warm you up, then this is even better, and that will help if it's really cold. Most nights I slept with the 2 top clips on the back of the quilt unfastened, and I had the quilt draped over me like I would at home, like normal bed covers. The quilt performed well. The diversity of being able to close it up tight or open it makes this sleep system a winner for such a wide scope of night temperatures. I highly recommend you to, if you don't already sleep with a quilt, to try one, because yeah, in my opinion, you won't go back to a sleeping bag. I do have a sleeping bag. I have a sleeping bag for very cold temperatures in the winter time, but I will keep using this quilt now all the way up into the winter season, and the temperatures have got to be well below 0 before I start using my sleeping bag. My the sleeping pad is a Thermarest Neo Air X Lite. It's nearly 5 years old. I'm always careful when I pitch my shelters, and I make sure that I clear the site for sticks and stones, and that way I seem to be able to keep my pads in good condition, and so far I've never had a problem. I never bother with these pump bags or the battery driven air pumps or anything. I just blow air into my pads. So like I say, this one's still going strong. I've got nothing negative to say about it at all. Some people, they complain that they are noisy. I don't share that opinion, and yeah, I reckon if you want a good thing, stick to it. So I'm sold on Thermarest sleeping pads. I also have a X-Therm that I use in the winter time, which I have slept on down to minus 13 degrees in one winter. I also just ordered a Neo Air Uberlight, so I can't wait to try that out soon. So my stuff sack pillow, the Hyperlight Mountain Gear stuff sack pillow, it's just over 3 years old, and it's been turned inside and out and back again so many times, probably hundreds of times now. It's starting to show some signs of wear now. I did notice before I left on my hike that some of the seam sealing tape is starting to get loose, and the adhesiveness of the tape is wearing off. I should have performed some maintenance on this piece of kit before I left. So this is my own fault. This was my gear failure on this hike, because after the heavy rains on the first day, when I got into camp that night, then some moisture had seeped through where the seal wasn't sealing anymore. So that's my own fault, and that was the gear failure. So that's the big three. We've covered the shelter, we've covered the backpack, and we've covered the sleep system. Everything good so far, with the only gear failure being my stuff sack pillow. Let's move on to the cooking system. Everything performed exactly how I thought it would. The Soto Windmaster is not a light stove, but it's a reliable stove. And I did a test today between it and the BRS 3000T that I was going to take instead of the Soto Windmaster, because it's about a third of the weight. However, the Soto, it has its own igniter, and therefore it doesn't require a lighter or matches to start it. The other thing that's pretty neat with it, it's got like it's a conical shaped burner on it, which acts as a windshield. They've conducted tests with this thing, tried to blow it out, and it basically doesn't blow out at all. Like I say, I did some tests today on it. You can see that on my YouTube channel. It's definitely more economical than the BRS. I would not say that it's a lot more economical, but it does take less time to heat water than the BRS does. The reason why I took this system was because I wanted the most compact kitchen I could have, and it had to be reliable. That's why I took the Soto, and because I was doing this, I didn't take my own dehydrated meals with me that I normally take, and I took these expedition meals. My cooking system for this hike lived up to my expectations. The pot was also my carb, and I used it in combination with the do-it-yourself pot cozy that I made, and this worked out really nice. I had no way of weighing my gas canister when I was finished my hike, because I had to dispose of it at the hotel before I flew home. But after the test that I conducted today, I can conclude that I used a little less than 130 grams of gas. You can see the results on the article that I wrote on my blog, and I'll put a description to that in the bottom of this video. So as far as food goes, I should have taken some of my own meals as well as the expedition meals. I found that after 5 days of this type of food, there was missing some fibre in my diet. My own meals would have done the job, and I proved this last year when I only had my own homemade meals with me. I ended up on the 5th day, I believe, purchasing some crisp bread and some of this ham cheese in a tube, and I used that for lunches on the last 2 days. I was also tired of having soups for lunch, and the crisp bread seemed to do the job, and my stomach thanked me for the switch. Last year I also used crisp bread for lunches, and I did that, I combined that with some Vegemite. And if you don't know what Vegemite is, you could Google it, but it's an Australian yeast extract, and only Australians like it. Everyone else in the world thinks it's disgusting. For rain and wind protection, this year I had the Haglof's Limb rain jacket. It's heavier than what I normally take, but I was it had 2 uses. It was also my wind jacket, so I was trying to justify the weight by telling myself that it supported my 2 uses principles that I practice. However, I regret my decision. I really missed my wind shirt, which is the Cumulus Windy Wendy wind jacket. It only weighs about 60 grams. I love that thing, and I won't leave it home again. I also felt that the Haglof's Limb was no better at keeping the rain out than my much lighter Baghouse Hypershell jacket, and it only weighs 89 grams. I used the same Innovate rain pants that I used last year. I've had these for a while now. They're very light and very breathable, and there's not much to say about them. I don't see any point in changing them out because they work great. Footwear, this is a favourite subject of mine. The Injinji trail toe socks that I use in combination with the Ultra Lone Peaks. In my books, they're the best remedy that I've ever tried for beating toe blisters and overheated feet. I've been using this system for about 1.5 years now. It works for me. There's not much else to say. I've got some arthritis, and it's pretty bad in the left foot, where one of my toes is a little bit deformed and the socks are hard to get on. But once they're on, I'm good to go, and the system works well. I've written a lot about this. My pack weights are pretty light, and normally they don't exceed 11-12 kilos. So the combination with the toe socks and the trail shoes, they work really well with those weights. If you're a traditional backpacker with heavy loads, then none of my recommendations would apply to you anyway. Hence the lightweight and ultralight backpacking thing of of my channel. The only thing that I would do differently next time is to switch my waterproof socks back to the lighter pair and not wear them during the day, which is what I tried to do on the first day this year as a test. I should have done what I always do and just wear the Injinji socks, which get wet and dry out, and when I get into camp I would remove the Injinji socks and wear the waterproofs to keep my feet dry and warm. Then when I go to bed I wear my warm socks. This is my 3 sock system of wet, the Injinji toe socks, dry, the Dex Shell waterproofs, and warm, the Darn Tough boot socks. This is what I did last year and it works. The Dex Shell waterproof breathable socks dumped the test. This is the gear that dumped, in my opinion. The Dex Shell waterproof breathable socks that I used this year were hopeless. They were only waterproof for a couple of hours, and then the inside and the outside of the socks were soaking wet. I wanted to try them out and test how long they would keep my feet dry. They have definitely dumped the test. You can read the full description in the packing list at the bottom of this video. That's the main items that I wanted to discuss as a post-hike gear review for my recent Swedish Lapland hike. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions, comments, just write them down the bottom, and remember to give me a like if you liked the video. Thank you.